Hi everyone, I just wanted to take a little bit of your time today to talk about good practice habits and why we need to establish them quite early on. So, what is a practice habit? A practice habit is something that you do every time you practice. And practice is kind of a big no-no, it's kind of a bad word. But practice is what makes us better faster. So if you want to get better quicker and obviously see the improvement and learn the bass, practice is something you will have to do. And good practice habits basically involve preparing yourself to do good practice in short amount of time. So let's talk about a few good practice habits that everyone can benefit from. Everyone is an individual here though, so see what works for you, because what works for you might not work for the next door neighbor if they're learning bass guitar as well, or your friend, or anyone in the world. Everyone is individual here. Everyone has a slightly different mind, slightly different brain, so let's see what works for you. Anyway, so step one, or tip one, is that you want to create a place or a space where you don't have a lot of clutter or a lot of distractions. This will actually improve your time spent practicing because you won't have to practice as long. So what I mean by distractions, turn Facebook off, turn Instagram off. If you're using your computer, try not to surf the internet with it. Try and have something that you're going to practice and just have that. You want to get rid of all those mental distractions. The other thing you want to do is get rid of clutter, because if you're trying to practice and you're squished in a little box like this and you can't even reach the end of the bass, you're not going to be able to practice very well. So make sure you've got enough room that you need, enough space to move around, and then what you can do is you can play a lot smoother, a lot faster, and you're not going to get annoyed when you whack the bass off the wall and dent something, which is bad. Do not dent your bass. Bass is good. Okay, so step number 2 is that you want to also establish timed practice. This works really well for some people, so if it doesn't for you, don't worry. Timed practice is where you sit down with a goal in mind, so I want to improve my speed, I want to improve my accuracy, I want to improve on a technique. And what you do is you get your phone out or you get a timer out and you do 10, 20, 5, 15 minutes. And what you do is you just spend that amount of time doing that one thing, and you just do it over and over again. And then if you start to get fatigued or tired, just take a very small break. Don't stop the actual time though. Keep the timer going. Just take a small break for 20, 30 seconds, then keep going. And the reason why we do that is because it gives you a time period to practice everything you want to improve, which is a really big thing, because now you can fit loads of stuff in during the day, and you can also improve quicker because you're focusing on one thing. The next tip, or the next kind of recommendation, is if you're struggling with a song or struggling with a scale or struggling with a technique, don't play the whole thing from start to finish. Don't just play it aimlessly and just bash the bass. Pick the very small details. Try and look at what you're doing and go, oh, I can't play that song very well because I'm using the wrong fingers. Oh, I can't play slap very well, which is a technique. I can't do that technique very well because I'm actually doing it wrong. So what we do is we find out the problems and the weaknesses of our playing, and we concentrate a little bit of time on resolving those. That's going to really help you improve faster, and it's going to build your confidence, and the more confident you get on the bass, the more you'll enjoy it, which is perfect. So the final step, or the final tip of a good practice routine, is that you want to establish doing it quite often. Even if you do it for 2-3 minutes, you want to do 2 or 3 minutes every other day or every couple of days, because if you go weeks without playing something, what happens is you affect your memory, mental memory, and you affect your muscle memory. So mental memory, or like brain memory, is how well can you remember that song? Do you remember where the first note is? Do you remember what the string is? Do you remember like how fast it is? Do you remember these bits of information? The muscle memory, which some people do call it, some people call it different things, but it's widely kind of known in the music realm as being muscle memory. Muscle memory is when you play the same thing over and over, repeating it and doing lots of repetition. And the reason why this works is because your fingers will actually remember what they're doing, and you won't have to think about it as much, which means you'll play a lot faster, a lot smoother, and your fingers will do all the work. And that's how you can just kind of close your eyes, look up at the ceiling, blast through your favorite bass solo, completely smash the competition and just blaze it up. And the reason why is because your fingers actually know what they're doing. Your brain doesn't need to think about any of it. So Those are 4 really good practice habits to get into, but there are millions. So see what works for you. If you find your own unique way of doing it, perfect, that's amazing, because everyone is individual here. So find what works for you, and it will improve your confidence on the instrument. And we'll see you in the next lesson.